So much on the BBC. Man alive, we've got loads of... Obviously, this will trickle into various other stories over the coming days as well. Lots of issues around the BBC. I mean, would you... If it was subscription-based, would you pay for it? I mean, we'll be looking into that as well. Simon in Skelmersdale says, disgraced BBC bosses finally fall on their sword, but even in their resignations, forced, there is a breathtaking level of defiance and arrogance. They still fail to understand the magnitude of the reputational damage caused to the BBC, which simply can no longer be trusted. That's a brilliant observation. It's so true. When Deborah Turness says, well, you know, we're not biased, I mean, yeah, I know there's nobody stands up there every morning and dictates how news stories have to be put together. We all know that, if you think about it. That's not really what's meant by the bias. Works in sort of other, slightly more mysterious and maybe underhand ways. But to not acknowledge the magnitude of it, and I think Simon uses that word, magnitude of the reputational damage caused to the BBC. The BBC's public funding should have ensured it was transparent, impartial, robustly open to scrutiny. The decision to begin shaping the news instead of reporting it whilst fostering a culture of institutional bias will finally sound the death knell for Auntie. It should now be sold and take its chances in the very competitive independent broadcasting market. TV licence payers should not have to continue to fund the BBC while it embarks on a journey of soul-searching and journalistic rehabilitation, just no longer fit for purpose. And one of the problems broadcasters face, and it doesn't affect us here, but I think Sky News are probably a good example, who may well be taking over ITV. It's going to be interesting how that pans out. Sky News said, you've got to almost, if you want to make your mark, you've got to remain impartial, but also do something that marks you out. Now, if you wanted to, you know, the criticism the BBC often get is it's quite boring on the eye. It's quite boring because it's just, there's no, the word isn't showbiz, but there's no kind of sense of it marking itself out visually in audio terms, very straight-laced. And that, by the way, is the point. But in the current world we live in, appetites have changed and people want something that is slightly different. So Sky News have tried all sorts of things, getting presenters to walk around the newsroom while reading the news, big sets, different colours, different teams, etc. They've kind of gone through all of that, and it's a bid to try and, you know, find a niche and try and find an audience. So I know it's difficult. I know it's really hard in the commercial sector to try and, you know, make money out of news. But the BBC, to stay relevant, need viewers and listeners. So they've kind of also playing a bit of a, you know, how can we make this look cool? How can we make it look more relevant? So they're attempting all of that, and, you know, you try to please everybody, you please nobody. Matt's in Cheshire. What have you got, Matt? Afternoon to you.
Hi, very good afternoon, Ian.
Hi.
Everything you just said about them having to try loads of things is because you and another channel have snatched away everything from them, and you've all got personality without having to spend hundreds of thousands of pounds on sets.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I've just got a few odds and sods.
Although the backdrop behind me cost about 120,000, apparently, just for the record.
You better get a new jacket then, Ian, just to fit in with it or something like that. Yeah. BBC political programming is even more biased than the news, which we've not discussed. And the political programme is the pits, and it's never been the same since Andrew Neil left. So the only hope is that Andrew Neil goes back and sacks everybody he needs to sack. BBC Salford is more or less a Labour campaign hub, and Andy Burnham spends more time there than he does in his mayoral office.
I think he's got an office there, hasn't he?
It pretty much has, yeah. And the BBC is wedded to international institutions like the UN, the WHO, the EU, and by that alone, they obviously favour the Labour Party. BBC News thinks it's the world's news first and forgets it.
Do they, when it comes to things like the EU, is it for the BBC? Because some would say it was not for the BBC to question the EU and the existence of it, because the EU is there. Let's say when we were part of it. So we're part of it, so therefore, you know, that's not a debate in the news. That we just report what's happening in the EU, not whether the existence of the EU is the right thing to do. I hear what you're saying. Listen, Matt, I've got to move for no other reason than Peter Cardwell has just walked into the room, and that's usually a good thing.
Not always.
Yeah, star of BBC News now as well. Clock you on there.
Yeah, I was on last night. We're going to be playing a bit of that actually on the show in a few minutes' time.
You're playing yourself on the BBC?
Myself on the BBC, yeah.
How did this happen?
I think my ego has just exploded.
That's right. Yeah, I just happened to clock that as well.
Yeah. No, it was...
The beans on toast went everywhere when I saw that.
Well, I can imagine, yeah. No, they asked me to go on, and I went on the BBC News channel last night.
The thing is, you've worked
a few home truths.
Yeah, you've worked for the BBC. Yeah. You did put a very, very intelligent and robust set of points to them.
First time for everything, yeah.
I think it did, yeah, and last as well. But no, I thought it was the points you were making were very reasonable, and they need to be made.
Yeah, and they're in crisis today. President Trump threatening to sue them for $1 billion. That's a big story we're going to be talking about right throughout the programme today. Also, Rachel Reeves admitting that taxes will rise. I mean, we all knew it was going to happen, but she has now finally said it. And another one-in, one-out migrant comes back. The scheme just isn't working. And some of the things that the government are saying is that it is working, in their opinion, and that shows it's working.
How do you get straight back?
Deported again.
Does it not cost about $3,000 to get back?
Well, you would wonder where this money comes from, certainly. So the person gets deported to France. We know that there's basically no security. Those people can come and go as they please. Yeah. They get back to Calais and then come back. This is now the second person since the scheme started a few weeks ago who's come back onto our shores. That's
right. But nobody is addressing how they paid for it.
Yeah, exactly. Well, we don't know.
I mean, it doesn't cost you. It's not like a 20 quid return.
No, exactly. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money.
I mean, it's a few quid.
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean, we'll ask the questions in all of that, but certainly this scheme isn't working. The government says it is working because it's deterring people. I'm not sure how many people it's actually deterring.
There were a few days, about 11 days, I think, when nobody crossed the channel because the weather was shocking.
Yes.
And it was stormy and windy and rainy, so that's always been the case. And then those numbers again picked up. So the minute it's a bit placid, more people
nearly 40,000 so far this year, but it depends on the weather, as you say. But the people are still coming. They're still coming in roughly the same numbers as they've been coming in previously, and it's not stopping. It's not getting better. The scheme isn't working.
Yeah, I will not take this story seriously until Fiona Bruce is out there in the middle of the channel on a single-handed rower to follow this.
For the Antiques Roadshow.
Before the Antiques. Well, she could do it while she's there, maybe.
Yeah. Combine the two. Save money.
How old is this dinghy? Well, this is Marmaduke Smithers, the old dinghy valuer. We could have it all going on, couldn't we?
Get all at a country house.
What an image.